Hey everyone, my name is Jared Borman. I'm on the Warrior Little League Town Team Board, and I'm just going to present to you some of the information for coaches here, for Little League coaches and Town Team coaches, and that way you have all the information you need going into this particular season. So if you ever need this presentation, you can pause this video, you can go to that link, and you'll have this presentation if you need to refer back to it at any point. So for Little League and Town teams, we're just going to go over a few updates. I'm going to kind of briefly go over a little bit of the website, or at least the coaches page, as to where you can get most of your information. I also want to just kind of touch on the Dominate the Diamond video resources, and I'll probably be creating a separate video that dives into the actual resource itself just a little bit more, but I wanted to show you where to access that and how to log in at least. And then the reason why we have that available is simply because to help with practice plans and skills and drills and all of that good stuff. So for Little League, the Little League coaches, if you're watching this video and you're a Little League coach, you'll be able to stop the video at a certain point, because really after that, after we've gone through that information, what we did with our coaches meeting is we gave the Little League coaches some time to work together to go through some of the Dominate the Diamond resources, but you are more than welcome to go through that stuff on your own in order to talk to some of the coaches about what are some good skills to potentially work into the Little League 15-minute practices that you kind of have before you start playing any games. And then the Town Team coaches, you're going to continue with the video here because we're going to go through all of that information that you see on the right-hand side, including rosters. We also handed out the gear for the season. Most of the Town Team coaches were there to receive the gear. I'll touch on coaching apparel, practice schedules, field cleanup, and all of that. So quickly for some updates for all coaches, Little League and Town Team. Last year we had 20 sponsors as a part of the Warrior Little League Town Team program, and those businesses sponsored in various different ways, from a general sponsor that just wanted to donate to a outfield sponsor, which are those banners that you see hanging on the outfield, and then our two banks in town have the field sponsorship where the banner is hanging on the backstop, and then each field is named after that bank, so you can kind of differentiate between the two fields, and rather than just big field, little field. We've increased those sponsorships, which helps us to ensure sustainability for the program. A lot of that money goes towards updates for the program or to pay our Town Team umpires for those home games that we have throughout the summer. But it really does help us to make sure that we don't have to do some kind of major fundraiser. I know parents, it's an eye roll that parents, fundraising isn't a fun process. But between our business sponsorships as well as our concession stand funds, we use all of that and then help offset any costs, so that way we try not to have to do a fundraiser if we don't have to. So on our fundraisers page of our website, if you see any of those sponsors, please make sure to thank them. Their donation has been paramount in the past, and we continue to look for their support in the future. We also are going to be we're going to be upgrading the batting cage situation. Right now we have one batting cage that sits between the two ball fields, and this year we are looking to add a second batting cage, simply because when you have two teams that are practicing on both fields at the same time, they're having to share a batting cage if you want to have any kind of batting practice or that time in the cage. So in order to alleviate some of that, what we're hoping to do is add a second cage over by the big field or someplace. I don't know if we exactly decided yet or not, but that second cage is hopefully going to change up your practice planning, because you'll have more options with hitting and fielding and all of that, or at least rotating through the players if you're trying to get them time in the cage. Also this year, we are going to be adding an umpire clinic starting in May. The exact date, I think, is going to be coming out here pretty soon, but our umpire clinic is going to be ran by Mark Wiley and Jamie Rodenberg, and those two are going to kind of go over a little bit of information about where to be standing if you have a runner on first and second, to what should your technique and things you should be looking for behind the plate as an umpire. And then any of those individuals, whether they're high school kids or even volunteer adults, not volunteer, but even adults outside of high school that want to be participate in the umpire clinic, we'll be getting you a polo shirt that we'll say town team umpire, and that way you feel and look more official when you're on the field. So that way maybe it prevents coaches or visiting coaches or parents or anything like that constantly questioning your calls or anything. We want to make sure that our umpires are, number one, paid, number two, supported. And so that support factor looks like a clinic as well as some attire, so that way you can feel confident when you are umping any of the games. We also purchased a portable mound. The portable mound was a need, has been a need for a long time for our 6th and 7th grade baseball players. It could also be used by the 4th and 5th graders as well. I know that's when a lot of kids start to learn the fundamentals of pitching, and being able to learn those while on an actual mound, because a lot of communities outside of Elkader have a portable mound, or those kids or our kids will be pitching on a mound of some kind. And so being able to have that portable where you can take it on the field, off the field for softball games as well, that's been really important and a high need. So we've been able to purchase that and have that available starting this year. The website, if you have not had a chance to go to the website and take a look at it, we highly recommend it. It is warriorlltt.com, littleleaguetownteam.com. And I know the L's kind of look like ones from time to time. So what I've done is I've capitalized the LL and the TT. It takes you to the same place, but at least people can see that it's an LLTT. But anyway, so on there you will find everything, and I do mean everything, from home field schedules to all the information you need for town team. There's a Little League page dedicated just for Little League. There's a page on there dedicated just for coaches, which I'll cover here in a second. But this is going to be a major spot that you are going to want to go to from time to time. And the best part is it is mobile friendly. It's mobile friendly, so you can access the website and everything on the website directly from your smartphone. And I'm just going to click on the link here so you can kind of see and take a look a little bit of what I'm talking about. So of course on our home page, you're going to see our home fields calendar. Now these are only the practices and the games that are on the 2 fields down by the campgrounds, okay? This doesn't include the ball field that's behind the school. If you want to access that one, that's going to require an extra form to be filled out through the school, since that is the school's. So just be aware that that field is not included in any of this information. And these do not include any away games for any town teams. So you have your own schedule for town team, your home and away games. This is basically trying to communicate to people, this is when those 2 fields are being used on what days. So that schedule will always be there, and we'll keep that updated as much as we can. The Little League page here for Little League coaches, you can find the Little League schedule here, which is essentially the exact same schedule that you just saw before. I will post the concession stand schedule here as well. And then this is where I wanted to draw the attention of Little League coaches and parents, actually. I've created and started to create a series of videos for the Game Changer app. This is the app that we are going to be utilizing quite a bit this year for Little League and Town Team. At least I hope Town Team coaches try to utilize the app, because it's a pretty powerful app. But that's where you can find these videos specifically for Little League. You also have your town teams with the same kind of information for town teams. Basically looking at the clothing order link. If you're wondering where can I find that, that's right here on our website. I'm going to be updating the teams here, so that way people can kind of see who's on what team. And more importantly, last year we were trying to establish the rules for each team, so I'll go over that as well, because that's kind of important. But then also the field's location. So if you're a town team coach and you're wanting to let other teams know where our fields are located, I guess the most common way to describe that is, hey, it's the fields next to Highway 13. Or you could say too, hey, go to our website here. You got a Google map right there. You can't miss it. Either way, we wanted to provide that for you guys. So I'm kind of jumping around here, but I am going to show the coaches page while I'm here, because this is such an important page for Little League and Town Team coaches. So right here is where you will be able to find this video. If you ever need to go back to it or reference it, I'll be posting it here underneath where it talks about Coaches Night. The app that we're going to be talking about is the Game Changer app. This is the link to the web page that will have the link for you to download, whether you're using an Apple phone or an Android phone. You'll be able to download them there, or you can just go to the app store that's located on your device and you can search for it there too. But this is what the app looks like. You also have the Dominate the Diamond. Now this is the link, this is where you can find the link, and this is the login information for that website. Like I said, I'm going to do a different video that dives into that a little bit more, but this is where you can actually find the website and the link as well as the login information. And then the clothing order, which I'll talk about here more in a second, but this is the link if you ever need to go for town team coaches, if you need to go to the clothing order and order yourself another jersey or hat. I'm going to jump back over to the presentation here. And next up is Dominate the Diamond. Now, just to kind of give you an overview, the board saw a need to support our coaches. We understand that a lot of our coaches are volunteer coaches, parents that have played the game back in the day, or a variety of different levels and skills. Everybody learns the game just a little bit differently. So what we were hoping to do was kind of create something that feels more cohesive. We wanted to provide an actual resource for coaches to be able to go to on a regular basis and get ideas for skills that you're seeing that need to be worked on, various drills that you can easily incorporate into practices. There's also downloads or downloadable PDFs for like the contract that we'll talk about here in a second, or how to formulate a practice plan or anything like that. Either way, we wanted to, as a board, pay for that in order to provide it free for all of our coaches to support you. So please, please, please never feel like you don't have support in terms of trying to figure out how to run practices. You do. It's there. And if you ever need to reach out to us to figure out how to utilize it best, you certainly can. This also, as the second bullet says, helps with a little bit of consistency with the instruction at different levels. So if we're watching the videos, if we have coaches watching the videos, pretty soon the language that we're using is going to be similar. We'll be using the same cues when it comes to throwing or hitting or fielding and so forth. And hearing those same cues is what's going to help kids to accelerate their skills a little bit more quickly. So we want to make sure that that resource is available. And again, there's the link there if you need it. Our sign-in information, the password information, you can go to it at any time. So at this point, Little League coaches, that is all the information that we have for you. You can pretty much stop the video here if you want to, but town team coaches, I want to run through some extra information that pertain just to you, and that's going to be in the following slides, such as submitting your team rules, the need or the recommendation of having some kind of team contract, apparel, the Game Changer app, and so forth. So town team coaches, you should have received your town team rosters. If you have this presentation, the link is right there as well. But we will be, those rosters are going to be shaken up just a little bit because the board did approve a proposal that was submitted in trying to figure out how we fairly split up the large groups of boys that we have on the town teams. So we'll be going through that process here in the next week or two. Once that is completed, we will then have our rosters completely developed. The other thing that we are trying to do is build somewhat of a comprehensive set of rules that essentially scaffold from all the way down to PK, like what do we need kids to be able to do at the PK level, all the way up to what do we expect kids at a 12th grade level to do. So this list of rules that is established for your season this year, it really is kind of created by the coaches. It'd be nice if we could have established criteria and rules at every level that can definitely be agreed upon. As I've personally talked with coaches from other teams that we've played against over the years, that becomes harder and harder to do. And the part of that that becomes hardest is the agreed upon part. Because some coaches truly believe that kids need to be able to do this at this level, while some coaches believe kids need to be able to do this at that level. So really you're developing your home field rules. If you need help in developing those rules, by all means, you could reach out to the board. We're more than happy to talk about some of that with you guys. Otherwise, we are leaving it up to the town team coaches to develop those rules. All we're asking you to do is when you have those rules, established, please send a copy to the board at warriorlltt@gmail.com, because we would like to include those on our website. Again, if you could just give another coach at another town the link to our coaches page, you're like, hey, there's our roster, there's our rules, there's a location of the fields, it's all right there. Rather than you having to spend a lengthy email trying to explain things to the coaches and so forth. So we were trying to help the coaches give other coaches a landing spot to find that stuff. So however you want to do it, though, it's up to you. Contracts. Now, there have been some coaches, in fact, in Dominate the Diamond, there is a download that you can find that that helps you to establish what might be called a team contract. Some people establish a parent contract, a player contract, however you want to sparse, or how to splice it up, however you want. But if there's a contract established that is communicated to parents, players, and anyone else, like, here are the expectations for this season. Here's what we need as coaches to do our job successfully in order to make sure that we are working together as a team. Having that in place might help some headaches down the road. With the idea of communicating to parents, like, what does playing time look like, or what would unsportsmanlike conduct be in the dugout, like, what do you expect from your players when they're in the dugout, and so forth. One rule that I kind of established, I think it was probably like in 4th or 5th grade, was the fact that I had a lot of parents that were coming over to the dugout and talking to their kids while they're in the dugout during the game. Something that I personally preached to our kids was, from the very first time we step on the field to when the last out happens, our goal is to think baseball. Think baseball, think baseball. So in doing that, though, I had parents that were coming to the dugout and that were interrupting or distracting from that. And so I had to establish a rule, whereas if I would have had a contract at the beginning of the season, I might have been able to avoid some of that mid-season. So things like that you may not necessarily consider or think about, and maybe it'll change over the course of the season, but a contract we do think could potentially help with some of that. Apparel. So for town team coaches, new coaches, you receive a new shirt from the board. You are a volunteer, and so we want to make sure we support you. We will pay for your shirt. We will pay for your hat. We cover that cost. All you have to do is just send us your shirt size, and then if you prefer a hat or a visor. And then any returning town team coach, when you order with Rivals, you can use the code COACH30, and you'll receive $30 off. And we, the board, cover that $30. So basically, if you need a new jersey, use the code COACH30, and you'll get $30 off the cost of the jersey if you need a new hat. Or if your stuff is still good from last year, and when the family apparel order comes out starting on the 18th, then you can use $30 off of a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or whatever it may be. But it's kind of our gift to you in order to make sure that you feel supported. The Game Changer app. This app is phenomenal. It has a lot of features that are just jam-packed into it, and it is fantastic for baseball or softball. So some of the three main features you see here is, if you want to do live game streaming, then you certainly have that ability. And then if I have one device that's sort of set up on the fence or somewhere nearby, and it's videoing the game, it's live streaming the game. And then over here, maybe I have an assistant coach or parent who is doing the scorekeeping, like what you see in the middle picture there, the scores and the stats. If you look on the live streaming video on the phone, you can see the stats appearing on the video live. So if you have family that's not that doesn't live nearby and they want to feel like they're a part of the game and watch the game, they have that ability. I will say it's a little bit of a technical setup. It's not difficult though, but I'm willing to help anyone that wants to give it a try. But there are some considerations to think about when trying to set that up. But if anything, if all you use the app for is the scoring features, it is powerful, powerful stuff. Not only that, another feature that I really like is the communication, where you can basically put all the games in there, the locations of the fields, all of that. I'm going to have an entire series of videos for how to utilize this app just for town team coaches. So when that becomes available, I'm going to be sending that out so that way town team coaches can have a step-by-step process about how to really utilize this app in order to ensure that you have a successful season and your communication is flawless and nobody's getting lost at ball fields away. So that's always the goal. But I'll have a video series set up for that. We did do equipment for our coaches meeting. A coach was there to receive the catcher's bag, which includes 2 sets of gear, a catcher's mitt, 2 to 3 bats, a helmet bag with 4 to 5 helmets, and a bucket of balls. It's important that any coach that feels equipment is not usable, then to report that to the board so that way we can get that replaced as soon as possible. We do have an order in as we were doing equipment inventory. We noticed that, we need another catcher's mask here, or we need another set of baseballs over here and so forth. So all those needs, we just want to make sure get communicated to us so we can set that up. But we also need to be mindful of, we that we don't have an endless pot of money, right? So if the equipment is usable, then we recommend working through the season with it. Is it ideal? Then maybe not. But buying 3 to 4 sets of catcher's gear every year is not feasible for us as a board. It's just not. And it's going through a lot of gear. And then we have to figure out how to get rid of the old gear. So we just want to make sure we're being fair for everyone and provide everything they need to be successful. But at the same time, we need coaches, we need players to make sure that that equipment is being maintained properly, it's being taken care of, and it's returning to us in good condition. Every coach's group, every team has a set of keys. It usually goes to one person per team, so that way it's easy to kind of maintain. That means too, if I have the key right now and I can't be at the next practice, I'm gonna have to figure out how to make sure the other coach is able to have the key, so that way they can get the shed open and have the resources they need to run practice. So you gotta communicate that with your other coaches a little bit. And then, of course, at the end of the season, the key will need to be returned. Scheduling of games and practices. All town teams, I believe right now, have essentially laid a solid foundation of games for the season. And so if you need to change any of those game times, or if a game gets canceled, or if you add a game or anything like that, then you need to communicate that to Mark Wiley. He's kind of the calendar manager for us. And so emailing him at that email address, or you can email us at the Warrior LLTT email address as well at gmail.com. We'll be sure to get that onto the calendar, or we can let you know, hey, the field's already taken. You can also, again, look on our website on the homepage. You can check and see if a field is being used at that time before you actually schedule any new games, because then you'll know if if one of our fields is available. So only for our home fields do we need to be made aware of any new games or cancellations or anything like that. Field cleanup day is tomorrow, actually, Saturday, April 16th. We are starting a tradition where the 6th and 7th grade boys and girls teams, along with parents and coaches, are the ones being invited to help with field cleanup. If we invite all of the ball players, then it just becomes kind of a chaotic mess. You have the 2-3 boys and girls that may not necessarily have the attention span to be able to help and pitch in. Not that they can't, I'm sure they do. But we just want a nice group of people in order to really tackle the projects that need tackled, so that way we can get the job done. The batting cage net is already up, so a lot of the work of getting the leaves that have been blown around of the field stuck in the fence, we want to get that stuff cleaned up. We want to get our fields in good shape, get the drag out and get the fields worked over, get some rocks cleaned up, things like that. So tomorrow on the 16th, we are inviting everybody at 9 a.m. to show up. And if you can, bring some rakes, bring some shovels. If you got a wheelbarrow, that might help a little bit. Brooms for the dugouts, if you want to bring that. And then maybe a leaf blower. I don't know. Anything you think that would make the job go a little faster. One big task that we do have is getting the outfield fences put up. And that can be, you don't want everybody helping with that, but you do need a pretty good crew to get that set up. So make sure to be there if you can. If you can't, if you have other obligations, we completely understand, but we just want to make sure that we are inviting those groups of people to help with that. And then at the end of the coaches meeting, time was allotted for the town team coaches to come together. But maybe create this as this is your checklist before your first practices of the season. So try to have one of your coaches be the main communicator. Maybe they're the one that's getting information out to parents and managing things a little bit. They're kind of like the admin of the team or whatever. But having one person as the go-to really helps. Establish your team rules. What are your home field rules for the season? Your team contract or parent contract, whatever you want to call it. Establish that before your first practice. You definitely want to make sure you have your practice times set up with Mark Wiley. He has, I think, put in almost all the requests, or he would have reached out to you if you requested a certain time but it didn't quite work out. He would have reached out to you to confirm maybe a different time, but you just want to make sure and confirm that those practice times are on the calendar so that way you have a field to practice on before the season starts. And then the last thing too is make sure before this practice season starts, set up your team on Game Changer. Again, it's gonna save you so many headaches. So be sure to check out the series of videos that I'll have set up specifically for that app, so that way you can feel confident in being the communicator and getting everybody, including parents and players, on the same page. So that's all I have. If you have any questions about what we presented the other night at our coaches meeting, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, we hope this is the information you have. Other videos to be on the lookout for is I'll be creating a video specifically for Dominate the Diamond, the Game Changer app, and I believe that's it. And this video, I think those are the 3 videos I wanted to focus on. So I hope this helps. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, thanks for watching.